Today is June the 3rd, 2012, and I'm in Noank, Connecticut with my mama, Irene Ruby Wilkerson Johnson. Tell us how many children were in your family when you were being raised.
12.
And you were what number?
Well, I was third from the bottom.
Third from the bottom. That's easier than saying ninth from the top or something.
Might have had to count it up.
Now, what did you guys do as you were growing up? What business was your family in?
My father was a dairy farmer, and he had when I was grown, a teenager, he had a milk route that he had 90 head of cattle that supplied the milk for the milk route. So we all had our turns at delivering milk from him. He had a route in Westerly, Rhode Island.
So everybody worked with some aspect of the farm.
Yes, either in the fields for keeping the hay, not the hay so much as the corn and the vegetables that you needed for all those people for winter. My mother canned all that stuff.
Do you remember at its height how many cows you guys were milking?
We were milking 90 cows at the height.
90 cows. That's a lot of cows. And that was before the days of everything being machine run and mechanized?
He did have milking machines.
Oh, he did?
The milking machines only did part of the job. You had to go back when what they called strip them, get the rest of the milk out because it wasn't good for the cows to have anything left in their bags.
And the milking machine didn't get it all? So after they were attached to the milking machine, then you detach that and do what? Then by hand?
Strip them by hand.
And stripping means just to get the remainder of the milk out of the udder.
Right.
Huh. I never heard that term. Okay. Strip them. And you had to do that with each of the cows. I mean, all 90 of them.
All 90 had to, yep. Wow. They could put the milking machines on 2 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And he had 3 machines, I think.
Oh, okay. That took a few hours every morning and evening. Did you milk twice a day?
Twice a day.
Oh.
And when I was in elementary school, grammar school, we called it, I was at 11, I started delivering milk when somebody was sick or not available for the truck. So I started then and just gradually got more of it.
Now, there were 10 children or 12 children?
12 children.
12 children. How many boys, how many girls?
There were 8 girls and 4 boys.
And was there quite a spread between the oldest and the youngest? How many years separated the oldest child from the youngest child?
Blanche was 19 years older than I, so I make her 21 than Mary. 24 years.
About 24 years. Do you remember all the names from the top down of your brothers and sisters? Can you name them?
Sure. There was Blanche May, Carol John, Annie Platt. No, Annie, I can't remember her middle name off the top of my head.
Okay.
And Burl Lennox, then Royden Abbott, and Gertrude Evelyn, and Elizabeth had no middle name. And then there was Richard Austin and Hilda, oh come on Hilda Esther.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Irene Ruby, and Mary Deborah, and David Albert.
Ah, you got them all. Got them all.
I didn't get Annie's middle name.
Oh, Annie's middle name. It'll come to you later.
That's awful.
And what were your parents' names, first names?
My father was John Walter Wilkinson, and my mother was Mary Deborah Morgan before she married him.
Oh, that was her maiden name.
Mm-hmm.
How nice. And that's also the name of your first great-grandchild, isn't it? His first name, Morgan. I didn't know that. I didn't know the connection.
Amanda didn't
She didn't,
Isn't that
or wasn't
amazing?
deliberate.
No. Isn't that amazing?
That's wonderful. She honored her great-grandparents without even knowing it. Wow. Now, your maiden name was Wilkinson or
Yeah.
Wilkerson?
Wilk-in.
Wilkinson. Okay,
And with
wonderful,
a
wonderful.
S-O-N.
S-O-N. And where was this farm?
It was in North Stonington, Connecticut.
North Stonington, Connecticut.
At what it was called the Daisy Farm,
The Daisy Farm, like the flower.
like the flower. Because when my father moved there, that's all it would grow, because daisies would grow in gravel.
Yes.
So he put lots and lots of work into building up the soil.
Yes.
And it was around a 400-acre farm,
Yes.
and gradually built it from, well, there were holes in the house walls when they bought it. It hadn't been taken care of for many years. People had lived in it, but he did repair the place really well.
Now, you have said previously to me that when people think of your family history, you want them to know how much fun you all had as a family. Tell me some of your fondest memories of the fun things.
Well, when we were little, we would go out and play baseball. We'd play outside. We all had clothesline ropes for jumping rope.
Yeah.
And my mother would make us little dishes out of things and let us have tea parties.
Mm-hmm.
And just all the general fun kids things did back then.
So it wasn't a miserable existence, hard labor on the farm. It was a fun time.
It was a fun time. It was hard work, and there were days when you rebelled right to the depth of your soul that you were being abused over work. But then the next day would be nice. That whatever had been the job of the week or whatever
Yes.
was over.
Yes.
One job I can tell you particularly that stands out in my mind is what was in elementary school, probably about 6th grade, 7th grade at the most. And we had a field that was called the racetrack because in its day it had been a racetrack, so it was the legal size of a racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
In this particular year, my father had planted field corn in it for the cattle. And for some reason the weather was wrong and the weeds came up before the corn came up, so he couldn't use the mechanical tool he had to get the weeds out. So then they could use anything to go through and clean them. So we kids had to clean that, go out and weed that racetrack after school, Saturdays, and after school and Saturdays for at least 2 weeks.
Wow.
And
By hand, just
by
pulling
hand,
up these
just
weeds.
on your hands and knees, pulling out weeds. And that was the hardest experience of work on the farm that
That
I
was
can
like
remember.
picking cotton. I mean, that
Yeah.
was just tedious work.
Just
wasn't it?
tedious work. But there was Lib, Dick, Hilda, Mary, and I.
You all did it together.
We all did it
Yes.
together.
Were you close as brothers and sisters? Did you like each other's company?
Really liked each other's company.
That's
Not
nice.
so much Mary, but the rest, yes, we did like each
Yeah.
other's company.
Good. Oh my. Tell me about, now you've told me a little bit about the family in which you were raised. Now tell me about the family that you raised. What are some of the fun things you remember from raising your own 3 daughters?
Oh dear. They were all simple things. We didn't have any money at all. So we had, Mamie was probably 2, because I hadn't had Martha yet. And we were living in a little teeny house there
Yes.
in North Stonington. And she and I would walk cross lots across the fields to go and to go back to the farm,
Yes.
see the rest that were there. And one day, while we were on the way, we saw this black snake. I saw it. She didn't. Coiled up by the side of the path we were walking. I picked her hand and she missed the road. I mean, the path for a long time. I went so fast. I don't think the snake ever saw us.
You have any fond memories of anything that happened with your other two daughters along those lines? Any fun memories?
Silly things, let me see.
Silly things like that? Or something they did or said when they were youngsters?
Martha was always such a quiet, sweet little girl.
Was she?
She didn't have a temper. I don't remember so many silly things with her.
And how about Liz? Anything from Liz Ann?
Well, Liz Ann was very precocious. I think you could have guessed that.
Yes, I could have.
And with Martha, going back to Martha, she was about maybe 10 months old when we opened the gas station, and I ran that, so that would have made Mamie about 4. And we worked out there, and I had a playpen for Martha out there that butted up to the big window that showed outside. And one day I was putting gas in a car and looked up, and she was walking on the windowsill, and the floor underneath her is cement. I dropped the hose, and I ran in there so fast and put her in there. I don't remember the customer
The gas was spurting all.
I don't know if I got gas all over his car. I don't know what, but I didn't charge him for the sale. That one was Martha's.
Oh my!
And now Liz Ann. Oh, Liz Ann. Well, that wasn't a time with me. That was at school. She was in the 4th grade, and she was a really good runner. She was winning races at school all the time. Well, this one day was the final race of the year, and she fell and broke her arm.
Right before the race?
Right during the race.
During the race?
Yep.
Oh.
Oh, that was tragic. That was tragic.
Must have been a hard fall. Okay.
And another time, the 3 girls were together out in the front lawn playing, and Mamie was putting Liz Ann, she was 2, she was putting her on her feet and kind of pushing her up. Well, she missed and went over and hit something on the lawn, her head. She got concussion. We had to rush her to the emergency room.
Liz Ann, you had to rush to the emergency room.
And she did have concussion.
Oh my, I'm sure her sister felt horrible.
Oh, that
they
was
were just playing.
Scared to death too that she'd killed her. But it worked out fine. She had to have a couple of days of real quiet and all.
Yes. My. Well, thank you very much for speaking with me, my dear. Say goodbye.
Bye.